Good morning, 𝗶𝘁𝘁𝗶𝗲𝘄𝘀 with another resume session with Krystian. Thank you so much, Krystian, for joining us today. If you could please expound some more on the reason you wanted the appointment.
Can you repeat the question?
Can you expound a bit more on why? I mean, I know it's a resume session, obviously, but if you could kind of dive in deeper as to what you were expecting to get out of this call and why you requested this appointment.
Okay, yeah, so I was looking for like advice on my resume, like how is it structured, things I should add or remove. Yeah, and like basically to like stand out as much as I can to recruiters.
Okay, very good. So you saw the homework that I gave you, right?
Yes.
And would you mind sharing? And then let's walk through that with you. I want to go over some of it with you to see that you understand the basics, because it makes our discussion of your resume much easier if we're talking on the same page. So please share your screen, go to the homework, and then let's see what your thoughts are.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, thank you. So number one, how did you apply number one to your resume?
So number one is think like a hiring manager. So in this case, you should like include relevant things that apply to the job description.
Why is that important, you think, Krystian?
Because if you don't have like relevant skills to the job, then it would be like not important to them.
Yeah, then you would not be one of the candidates that they would even call in for an interview. Very good. There was a second part to number one that I wanted you to get. What was that?
You should focus on the job description, but not the task descriptions.
And what should you focus on? Tells you. Ensure that the resume highlights what? We're still on number one.
Oh, highlight results and accomplishments.
Results and accomplishments versus task description. How well do you think you address that in your resume?
In terms of the projects that I have, I made sure to like include metrics that are like I can back up. For experience, I don't really have a lot of metrics to show.
Yeah, we can dive into that, but I just wanted to make sure that you understood number one, and you got it beautifully. So if you could please share your resume, let's give it a first look.
Let's see.
We're going to be going back and forth, Krystian, so just FYI.
Okay. Might have to.
So what job title are you applying for, Krystian?
So I'm currently exploring perhaps like a tech consultant, data analyst, or like an AI engineer, for example.
So you have three job titles there. Tech consultant is kind of nebulous. What specific job titles have you seen for tech consultant?
Pretty much tech consultant was like the title for most of them that I was looking at.
That you were looking at? Okay, cool. So my other question based on what you said is, do you have three different resumes?
I do not know.
Okay. Why do you think I asked the question?
Because you should like tailor each to like each of the titles you're applying to.
And why is that crucial if you want to stand out?
Because like not all, I should say, experiences align with one and not the other.
Yes. So I normally like to call the other one, if you only had one resume, then you're trying to cover all three: technical consultant, AI engineer. What was the other one?
Data analyst.
Data analyst. Okay. So you see kind of like their specific focus, right, for each of those jobs. So what happens is if you're trying to hit all three in one resume, it tends to make you look like a generalist. In this job market where it's tight, I mean, companies are laying off, people are specialists. I mean, the hiring managers have the luxury of finding who they need. So if you're not targeting what they're looking for exactly, you're not even in the running. Okay, so back to that, which of those three job titles is this, just for the purposes of our discussion, closest to as far as results and accomplishments? Which one of the three?
I would
If
say
there is, maybe there isn't.
like either the AI.
Pick one, just for our discussion.
Okay, AI.
Okay, let's pick AI engineer. All right. So can you click the plus sign or make that bigger for a little so people who view this can? Thank you. So my eyes on any resume go from the top to the bottom. Okay, Chicago, Illinois. Don't forget the zip code. All right, because sometimes the applicant tracking system is looking for a locale. So, and then LinkedIn, very good. You have your GitHub summary. Rising senior studying computer science and AI experience. Okay, I like how you did that. So let us go back to that document that you were looking at. Let me point some things out as far as resources in tandem with our discussion for your benefit and for the benefit of the students listening in. Go back to that document where we had design principle number 1.
I should just share.
We're going to be going back and forth, man. So just FYI, you continue what you're doing, but.
Okay, now.
All right, very good. So if you go further down where it says for an effective resume, you know where the LinkedIn index is, right? You know how to find that?
Here?
Well, no, in general, obviously the link is out there, but you know how to find it by going to the LinkedIn group, right? Again, I'm repeating this. I could be repetitive for you, Krystian, but I'm being very specific also for the audience listening in. Krystian was right. You could just click on the link. But one of the easiest ways to find the index also is number 1, to be part of the LinkedIn group for Illinois Tech. And then number 2 is the index. That link that Krystian was about to click is a comment in any of the posts in the group. So let's just click on that link. Okay, and then you go to scroll down a little bit, and then there says table of contents. Click that. Beautiful, and then you can pick the topic. So in this case, we're talking about resume. So scroll down to resume. Very good. And then there you go. So the document that Krystian actually had open is the 9th bullet down where it says resume design principles. You don't have to click it now, Krystian, but you could go back to that document we were speaking about. To the left. There you go. So actually, Krystian just so kindly showed you how to find the index. Number 2, we went to #resume, and it's saying listen to at least one of the resume group workshops. Okay, and then we included the playlist, and then we also have case studies 1 to 10, and then we even show you how to use artificial intelligence. So let's go back to the index, Krystian. And the reason I brought this up was when you open up your resume, I wanted you to compare and think of your summary to one of the case studies. Scroll down, please.
Okay.
So you see where it says case study? I want you to click specifically case study 5, Better, who happened to be a freshman at the time when he came to Career Services. And I want you to let me know, Krystian, tell me, scroll down, please, to the actual resume. Open the square on the bottom right to enlarge the resume. You click the plus sign. Click the plus, please, to make it bigger. So which summary do you think is more impressive, Krystian? This one from this then freshman or your summary?
I would say this one that we're looking at is better.
Why?
Because it's more descriptive and like specific to what they're applying to, I guess.
If you were the hiring manager, what would stand out from Benjamin's versus yours?
The metrics, I guess, is an
Okay.
important part of it.
Very good. And that's what goes back to design principle number 1, right? Because a lot of people talk about tasks. If you could shift back to your resume let's take a look at what you had. So you kind of said rising senior studying computer science, that's data, computer science and AI, with experience building tools, okay? If you took a look at Benjamin's resume, he didn't just talk about experience in whatever it was he was talking about. He actually gave you results as to what he was working on. That's why he would stand out more versus you. You kind of fell into the category of just describing what you did versus real hard data, also known as results. What did you just learn, Krystian?
That it's important to have results in order to stand out in applications.
Very good. And that's exactly what you said in the appointment. You had to define what it was that you wanted the appointment for. And I saw that that's what you said. In preparing for looking for jobs, you wanted to stand out. So rule number one, you got to focus on the job descriptions that you're looking at. And number two is, as you're talking to the job description, you want to highlight why they should even call you in for an interview, i.e. don't just tell them that you know how to do this, you know how to do this. You actually say, no, I know how to do this, and this is what I accomplished with what I know how to do. Make sense?
Yes.
Questions?
No.
Okay, so where Benjamin got the information to put in his summary was actually in the rest of the resume, okay? We're being very strategic in that we're giving them the information that we need, which reminds me, if you go back to the design principles, please, and then we'll come right back to your resume. And I appreciate your facility at moving around with this. It's making the explanation much quicker. Actually, yes. So we're done with Benjamin's. Go back to I think it's your other LinkedIn. I see. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There you go. So in the second design principle says hiring managers have very little time, right? Because they're flooded with the resume, so they have very little time, very short attention span. So what number two is saying, number one is you have to honor the fact that they're very busy. And number two, you have to give them easy and fast access to what they're looking for, okay? And that's the whole idea of the summary. It's like immediately on top. So you got to tell them what they're looking for immediately in order for you to be relevant. The way you created your summary actually was, quote unquote, the old style of writing summaries. It was very, people toss out words at the, highly motivated, yada, yada, yada. But from the perspective of a very busy hiring manager, it's not really telling them a whole lot versus somebody like Benjamin who talked about results immediately relative to what they're looking for. What are you getting?
Yeah, so it's important not to waste their time, and it's better if you have things at the top, because that's usually where they look at for relevant info.
Very good. And while we're at it, I'm just going to go through number 3 and number 4 so that you know all the 4 design principles. Number 3 is saying that if you take the time to figure out what your relevant results are to the job description, you're actually doing the preparation work for the actual interview when they call you in. So when you're going through your resume and creating it thoughtfully, you're actually prepping for the interview, because guess what you're going to be talking about is the same exact thing. Relative to the job results, what do you bring to the table as far as results? So when you have this aligned, your job search actually becomes much more streamlined, because your resume did that work, and then your interview will do the same thing, but you already had practice because you already thought through this before you even go through the interview. Questions?
Not at the
No
moment.
questions? And then the last thing is we're saying any advice that's given you, including the advice that I'm giving you today, or any advice that you're reading on the internet, because it's your job search, you have the final call in what you apply or what you don't apply. Sometimes the situation works for you, or people could swear by it, but if it's not working for you, stop it. Okay. And if something is working for you, even if it's contrary to what the advice that you're seeing out there, by all means, do that. Okay. So let's go back to your resume and let's apply design principle number 2 to your resume. So design principle number 2 said, according to the job description, you want to give them easy, fast access to like an AI engineer job description. So my question to you, Krystian, so that we target relevance immediately, because this is going to be information that we put in the summary based on the job descriptions that Krystian has seen for AI engineer, and based on what Krystian knows his background is, what he brings to the table, which piece or which part of this interview, let's see your experience. You have software engineer, you have IT support, and then you have projects. You have two experiences. Scroll down, please. You have two experiences, and then you have further experience in projects, and you have how many projects? Three?
Three listed, yes.
Three listed. Okay, so we actually have a total of 5 experiences, right, Krystian?
Yes.
So as far as design principle number 2 is, you want to give them easy, fast access to the information that they want. According to the AI engineer job descriptions, which of these 5 experiences is most relevant?
I would say this AI study buddy
AI
project.
study buddy, very good. So I'm going to call AI study buddy segment 1 for the purposes of our conversation. Okay, so the top relevance is AI study buddy segment 1. What's your segment 2?
I would say the structured information.
Structured, very good. What's your segment 3?
There isn't really a third.
Okay, you have to make that call for them, because if you don't make that call, they have no clue who you are. They have no clue what your background is. And since you're studying the job description, what you're doing really, Krystian, is based on what you know they're looking for, you're connecting the dots for them so that you rise above the crowd as the person they're looking for. Okay, so you said segment 1 was AI study buddy, and then you had structured information extraction. What, based on your assessment, would be segment 3? Pick one. Nothing? If they're not related.
I mean, not really.
Okay, so 2 things that I want to discuss with what you said, not really. Does it mean that the work experience in the bullets that you have, because I see software engineer, you have 3 bullets, IT support, you have 3 bullets, and then the last one with Southwest database, how many bullets does it have? You have 3 bullets, okay? In essence, without you connecting the dots for them, you are expecting them to read all 3 bullets and then assess for themselves that you're the candidate, okay? This is the part in design principle number 2, where we said number 1, they're very busy. Number 2, you better give them easy, fast access to what they want. What I heard you say in this question and answer is they really don't want your top 2 jobs. But guess what? Even from your placement in your resume, you kind of made them read a lot and you weren't relevant. What are you getting out of this?
Yeah, you need, in your resume, you should have relevant info that applies to the job description and nothing else.
Very good. So let me go back to Benjamin. Benjamin and I went through the same thought process, just like you and I did, okay? But with Benjamin, when he came up with all his experiences, he kind of knew what is segment 1, segment 2, segment 3. Guess what the summary is comprised of? It's based on a segment 1, you know, the top priority jobs. So you see that that's why he's very relevant to the job description, which Krystian can apply to your job search for AI engineer. Making sense? If you go to the summary, go to the top.
Oh.
See, look at the summary. He's talking about the things that they want to hear about, and you will do the same thing with your segment 1 and segment 2. And that's what we focus on to have your summary.
Okay.
So let's go to your segment 1, unless you have any questions so far.
No.
Is this helping?
Yes.
Is this what you were looking for when you wanted the appointment?
Yes. I take any criticism.
Because it's definitely going to make you shine, right? You understand how all these strategies are going to make you shine, because we're taking the time to make you shine versus just dumping the information. All right. So let's go to AI study buddy. So you have 3 bullets. Again, relative to design principle number 2, we said sooner versus later. I notice you have 3 bullets. Are they arranged from top priority to least?
I don't think that's how they're ordered, no.
Okay, so which of those 3 bullets should be on top?
I feel like the first one is where it should be, because it's like explaining the idea behind it.
So designing an AI-powered study companion that generates personalized study plans from lecture materials, textbooks, and videos using LLMs content. All right, so here's another problem, Krystian. When you're thinking of relevance, because you studied the job description and because you did this project, you know that it's relevant. But when I read your first bullet, I'm not making the connection. So you see how we're missing the point again?
Yes.
Okay, let's see your second one. You said, after the first bullet, which one should follow? The third or the second?
Second, I guess.
Okay. You see how you're tentative and you said, I guess? Remember how I said, if you're not sure, how do you expect them to understand this work, right? That's why you have to make that call. And that's why I'm glad you set up this appointment so that you could go through this thought process before you even go interview with them. And number one, you're not going to have the interview anyway if your resume did not communicate your impact. All right. So when you listen to some of the other workshops, the process that we go through, because what are you thinking of your bullets 1 and 2? Are they more descriptions or are there more results?
There are definitely more descriptions.
Great. So now that you realize that, you're getting the distinction between some of these concepts that we're focusing on. So good job, Krystian. So the next step is, how do we pull out of Krystian? Because he knows, having looked at the job description, that he's relevant, and it's all in your brain. Because the way you put it down on paper, it's not communicating it to the stranger who's reading this and who you're trying to impress. You see the quandary?
Yes.
There's a big problem, right? Because you know you're relevant, but the way you communicated it is not. So when you listen to some of the recordings, this is usually the biggest problem, Krystian. It's talking about the task description versus the results. And while I'm on it, if you could go back to the index, please, let me give you some more resources so that you can look at it. So if you scroll down, actually the index, very good. So if you scroll further down the case studies, you see where it says describing versus accomplishments and results.
Yes.
All the way down to career log, accomplishments and results. That entire section addresses this specific issue where students have difficulty because all they have are task descriptions versus results. So click the first one, describing versus accomplishments and results. And I'm going to check in really quick with you, Krystian, if you're understanding the concept. So Krystian is the hiring manager, and you have 3 candidates, A, B, and C. Who will you call in for an interview?
C.
Why?
Because they're talking about how they generated 50% more leads.
It's clearly impactful, right? So
Yes.
the effect that the C had on hiring manager Krystian should be the same effect Krystian has to have for the AI engineer hiring manager. Make sense? So X out of this, back to the index. So the second one where it says results versus describing. So this was a student who had no experience at all. All they had were projects. These are 2 pictures. Click the picture on the right, please, on the right. So this student did not even bother to describe what they did in the class relevant to the job description. All the student did was cut and pasted from the syllabus, and this showed up in the resume. After talking about the design principles, yada, 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 click on the left arrow to see the transformation from task description to results. Same class, different presentation, more impactful. What are you getting?
Yeah, this is definitely more impactful than the other one. It's more detailed for sure.
Well, it's not actually detailed, but it's the detail that the reader is looking for, right? Because I can go into detail about something totally useless, okay? But the detail is what they're looking for. So X out of this, please go back to the that list index. So the next one, you have the rest of it. Click all the way to the bottom where it says career log, accomplishments and results. Yes. So that entire section delves more into the subject we're talking about. You see all those check marks? Those are the things that Krystian is looking for from that experience in the project. Okay, be it project, be it internship, be it work experience, it doesn't matter. It has to be all about presenting your results relative to the job description. And if you scroll further down, please, all the way to the bottom of that article, keep going. You see the 3 bullets? Scroll back up. Test it. There you go. Poor, better, and great. And the reason it's great is not because it's the longest. It's because it gave you the relevant information that was relevant to the job description. Questions?
No.
Okay, good. So back to the index. So scroll further up above case study, where you have resume workshops. Those are all recordings, and group coaching. Group coaching and resume workshops are all recordings, just like today's recording. And then actually with the group coaching, I started putting down what the coaching was all about, just like I'm going to put a subject for today's coaching. When you go to the coaching, some of the resume workshops, the biggest problem, like I said, was in people defining what their accomplishments were. So let's go back to your resume, and I will give you the experience of some of those resume workshops. So let's talk about AI Study Buddy, all right? So let's see what you have here. Design an AI-powered, working alongside a team. All right, I can see some places where you skipped out on this. So when you listen to some of those resume workshops, I asked the student to just do a download or a brain dump on what they did in the project, in this AI Study Buddy. And then Bernie is going to be listening from what did Krystian accomplish. So that's one way of finding out your accomplishments, all right? You can have somebody to listen to you. If you don't have a partner to work with, just like Bernie is here today, Krystian could go through the same exercise, like focusing on AI Study Buddy and then just writing everything down that you did. And then you could go right back in to read it and do what Bernie is going to do for you to see what you actually accomplished. So let's go. Don't censor your thoughts on AI Study Buddy, but I'm going to be interrupting you just to like find out, where we're not talking about the results. Are the instructions clear?
Okay, I do wanted to ask because the project itself is in its early stages, so you can't really have any results in the early stages.
I disagree. Okay, because how long you've been working on this? Oh, you just started. I see what you're saying. Okay, so let's hear it. What have you done so far?
So at the moment, we're designing the database schema, and the relationships between entities.
So when you say we, who's we?
Me and 3 other people in the team.
Okay, so you're in a team of 4. So you collaborated on a team of 4.
Yes.
You writing this down?
Yes.
So you see how you said you haven't accomplished anything? I say you already did. You're collaborating on a team of 4.
Okay.
So was this at the beginning of June, Krystian?
Yes, pretty much.
Okay. So since the beginning of June, so usually when you have projects and then you have multiple players, sometimes, Krystian takes care of part A, person B takes care of the second part, et cetera, et cetera. Are you leading, any part of this?
Well, at the moment we were just kind of learning, researching different architectures we could use for this project and whether or not we should focus on front end or back end first. We decided on back end.
Everybody doing the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. So nobody's really leading anything. So talk to me about the dynamics. So what, you meet weekly? And I want you to start thinking, okay, because it's like pulling teeth. I'm just asking you random questions to kind of find what I'm looking for. You know what we're trying to do, right? I'm trying to find areas in what you're doing that we can highlight as results. I already started with one. One of the results is you're collaborating on a team of 4, right? So talk to me some more. I got you started, got your juices flowing by kind of like letting you do a brain dump. But now I want you to be a little bit more specific as to like what were you thinking? Because when I asked you the question, I said, which one is most relevant to the job descriptions? And you did not hesitate. You knew there's something in this AI study, but so let me hear those parts of why you thought they were a perfect match for the job descriptions. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please. You're doing great, by the way.
Thank you. So we basically from now on we have like weekly like tasks to do.
Okay.
So my task was to like come up with the database schema and ERD, while another
Okay.
person on the team worked on like
Okay, hang on. Let's talk about that first one. How long did you have to do that?
the schema itself took me like an hour to complete.
Okay, was it due in a week? I mean, because you said
Yes,
you met
it's
weekly,
weekly.
right? Was it
Yes.
due in a week?
Yes.
Okay. So how soon? Did it take you 1 week to do it?
No.
Okay. So something that would have taken what?
It took
Like
me
a
about
40-hour work week? You spent what? 2 hour tops?
yes,
Okay.
basically.
So are you seeing what I'm talking about? Your
Mm-hmm.
deadline was 40 weeks. You finished it in 2 hours. You see how you said you had no accomplishments?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pulling out accomplishments and I'm starting to quantify it. Are you getting the idea?
Yes.
Yeah, please take notes because I'm only as good as what you take away from this.
Okay.
So everybody was doing the same thing. So you say, hey guys, next week we're going to do this, right?
Yeah.
And then for your part, it only took you 2 hours to do that.
Yes.
Okay. Did everybody else do the same thing?
They did other tasks.
Okay, this is what I meant about part A, part B, part C. When you said other tasks, these are other parts. So were you specifically the one who was researching?
Yes, the database aspect of it, yeah.
Okay, so that was only Krystian. Is that a yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so if it was only Krystian, you actually led that effort.
I guess, yeah.
Don't guess, it's what you're doing. This is what I'm talking about, right? It sounds very small to you, right? But
Mhm.
this is how we talk about results to the point that you made earlier. It's like, oh, this has only been less than a month. I haven't done anything. Are you seeing how I'm pulling all of these things out?
Yes.
Questions about the process?
No, it's a good method.
So do you understand how like some of those people, usually when it comes to information like this, if you notice, nobody's measuring these things,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you think about it, and if we're trying to stand out, we have to like find these things so that you do stand out.
Right.
Okay. So do you think you can handle the rest of your AI study, buddy?
Yes, I should be fine with
Do you
that.
think you can handle the structured information extraction?
Yes.
Okay. So the Southwest database, why did you include it in the resume? Did you include it just because it was a project that you could write down?
I included it because it ties into kind of like the data analyst's position.
Okay. So good. So it belongs to another resume.
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I would do if it doesn't apply specifically to the AI engineer. I would keep Southwest database, I would put the dates, and then I would not let the reader read the rest of the stuff you have there, because to your point, you said it's not relevant.
Okay.
Questions?
I guess like what would I have to put to like make up for the space, I guess?
Well,
So,
that's where you want to take a look at what everybody else was doing on their resumes,
okay.
because to your point, okay, it could look, actually, let's do that right now. Go back to the index. Let's thumb through the better versions of case study. And I want Krystian to see what else he can add. So click case study 1 better. So you're going to have a summary, you're going to have education, you're going to have experience. Actually, in your case also, with the sooner versus later, you want to put your projects above your work experience, because both your work are not related to AI engineer for this particular resume, right?
Okay.
Okay, there's not a whole lot here. Try to go 2 better. Or go, you pick. Maybe you're lucky. You have 10 to pick from.
Why not 2 better?
Thank you for humoring me with this, because it's allowing the viewers to do the same thing we're doing. There's a summary, education, experience. Ooh, did you have a skill spot?
I do, but it's very tiny.
Okay. Okay, and then what was the end for Mark's? Did you see Mark's end of the resume?
Projects.
Skills. And then take a look at what he put down in the bottom. He had projects that are totally not related to what they're looking for. What do you think he included? Does this relate to Krystian or no? The extracurricular projects. If it doesn't, scrap this. We go to the next.
Not really, no.
Okay, good. Next.
Uh,
Click case study 7 better. Bottom. Certifications.
I do have some, yes.
Okay, you get the idea, right? I would first focus on the content. The exercise you and I are doing at the moment is, what do we do with the white space? Okay, that's the least of our concerns at the moment. All right, but I just showed you where to go find this stuff. So give me a summary of what we talked about in the transformation of Krystian's resume, please. Summarize what we have so far.
So we should
Let's
have,
go back to your resume, and then I want you to talk through what your thought process is now after having this conversation.
sure. So the summary should have like more impact in it, not just generic stuff. You should prioritize stuff that are relevant to the job description at the top. So if I was applying for AI, then the project should go above the experiences that I have. For like a data or a project that doesn't relate, I could add something else, like a certification, for example. And then maybe add more skills, I guess.
Okay, another area that I'm seeing for you too, Krystian, is under education. Sometimes people put courses, and this would apply to you because it doesn't sound like you have a quote unquote a whole lot. So some people put the specific courses that, you know, they're the subject of the course is showed up in the job description or something like that.
Yes.
So I guess that's why, if you notice, I've been all over the place giving you resources so you can start your thought process to see what applies to Krystian. And again, thank you for humoring me with this, Krystian, because it's not a one size fits all. It's really dependent on, number one, what the job description is, and number two, what are you bringing to the table. So if you notice, we're really personalizing all of these pieces of conversation specific to Krystian. That would apply to the people listening into this recording as well. Any questions so far?
No, it's very helpful.
Okay, I want to bring you to the next steps in the index, please. In between the workshops and the case study, it talks about resume follow-up. Open that, please. So it says resume bullet work. which is where you're at, right? We just did bullet work on your segment 1. Okay, so the student and I had an interaction on LinkedIn. You can decide to do this if you want to. Again, I'm just showing everybody the plethora of resources that are in the LinkedIn group based on the different meetings with various students. So this particular student, they had their segment 1, and we did this on LinkedIn. At 11:46, the student came up with all of these, right? And then if you notice at 11:59, just like I'm asking you questions right now, Krystian, remember when I asked you to brain dump on me? I
Yes.
kind of did something similar, but if you notice, I'm specifically asking questions about certain things the student is saying. And then at 12:01, the student goes, should I respond? And I say, yeah, please do, so I can help you customize this and be more impactful. So if you notice at 12:12, the student now incorporated what I said. And then if you notice at 12:51, I was able to capture what the student said impact-wise in the most efficient manner possible. Because your task, Krystian, at the end of the day, is to have a bullet point that communicates your impact in the least number of characters. So that's kind of what's going on at 12:51, where after the student and I go back and forth, you and I are doing the conversation version, but this can be done with this. If you click where it says subsequent segments, open that, please. So this particular student had 4 segments. You, for this AI engineer, only had 2 segments, right? So if you notice, we went through the entire conversation and we kind of like scrubbed this back and forth. So back in the day, I was doing all the work with the students. So you could take your time to look through some of this. Let's go back to the index, please. If you scrolled further down under case study, notice how it's saying optimize bullet 3 in using AI. I used to do all the work until I started recommending for the students to use AI to fix some of these things. Okay, so click optimize bullet 3 with AI ChatGPT. So when you're using AI, the first thing to remember is that the output of artificial intelligence is only as good as your prompts. That's why I take the time to talk about design principles, yada, 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 because I want you to have that intelligence when you're directing artificial intelligence. I mean, you're the master, and the output that you get is only as good as your prompt. Number 2, keep giving instructions until you get what you're looking for. You could even say, hey, I don't like that answer, give me another one, or give me 10 other ones, all right? And then number 3, never simply cut and paste the AI answers. You have the final say, even if it's like, yes, I read it, I like it, all right? So if you go through this particular example, click where it says a few moments later, and you have a link.
Oh.
What? Got deleted? Uh-oh. I guess, oh, you know why? Because it was in the Google Drive. We keep on changing. So I'm going to have to fix that. I guess you just go through this, but thank you for pointing that out, that it disappeared because it was on the Google Drive before we transitioned over. Are there any questions about what I shared with you?
No.
So when you come into some of those bullets, I guess back to the index. You see where it says impact using ChatGPT 1, 2, and 3? Those are additional AI resources.
Okay.
So do you think you have everything that you need for the next iteration of your resume, of your AI engineer resume?
I believe so, yes.
Any last questions?
No, not really.
Okay, if you remember anything, you and I are connected on LinkedIn. Send me a message on LinkedIn, just like you have this. And I'm actually going to give you homework, Krystian, for your segment 1. Just like that student sent me information, I want you to cut and paste your original segment 1. Okay, all the 3 bullets that were just task descriptions. And then you say, hey, Bernie, this was the original. And then I want to see your proposed changes.
Okay.
Then if there's something that's missing, I'm going to ask you more questions. Otherwise, you can go to segment 2. But this way, I know that you understand the distinction and you're able to apply task descriptions versus results. You clear on your homework?
Yes.
All right, cool. I guess I'll see you on LinkedIn, Krystian. Good job. I mean, I loved how you were able to capture everything that I was saying. And actually, I loved your facility at moving around in the index, because sometimes when I try to explain this, it took the coaching to a much different level. Number one, based on you answering and kind of like playing the quote unquote guinea pig to go through some of these principles. So thank you for your time, Krystian. Hope this helped, and then we'll see you on LinkedIn.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Take care.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.